Right, I'm just going to do a quick video talking about the kind of directive. This is to get the godsaw. Now, if you're trying to get the godsaw, it's the directive weapon for the heavy assault. Now, if you go to directives, now I'm on my other account, which I don't have it equipped. I don't have the godsaw equipped, but you've got the heavy directive, which gives you the heavier axe, and you've got the weapons directive. Now, I've done most, if not all, the weapons directive, but on my other account, but I've come on this account just to show you. So you've got light machine guns. Now you can start any of these, and eventually you'll unlock what's called the godsaw, as you can see in the back there. Now to do this, it just requires you to get 1,160 kills with 5 weapons. Now if you it doesn't show you the final. I can't show you the final one, but the first one is get kills. So you've got to get 10 kills with different guns. Oh, this is a shotgun novice. Sorry, I clicked the wrong one. So you got there. So you got the godsaw. So you could get 10 kills with a godsaw. The second one can be any one you like. Now, eventually you'll have to get 3. Then you'll have to get 4 weapons done, and it's just time consuming, that's all. Now, as a new player, you're going to struggle to get the kills needed because you need to be drilling people in the head. Now, I'm going to talk about the LMGs I would recommend as a new player, and the ones that I would try and get used to. Now, you have to realize that when you buy these LMGs, you're going to be like, well, this LMG is not as good as I thought it would be because he said it does this and this and this. Now, to me, that's what it do, that's how I use it. So let's just take a dive into the heavy assault, and let's just have a brief look at what guns are out there and what you should be using. So you need to, eventually you're going to have to get 5 guns. I think it's 5, and you'll have to get 1,160 kills with 5 weapons. Now, most of the weapons are pretty average. Some of them, like, you will use them and you will think they're pretty average. They're not great, but they have their own niches, and you have to use them around that niche. So, for example, the Ns15 MG, it has a really low damage output at 143, but it is really accurate, and you can chain headshots with it. If you can aim for headshots and kill and really, really hit hard with accuracy, because most of the veterans who've been playing the game, if they play something like this, they will do really well. Now, a new player will struggle because even if you hit 1 or 2 headshots, you're not gonna down him in like 2 or 3 shots. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. You've got to control the weapon. You've got to follow the head, stuff like that. Stuff like this, for example, does high damage, so it doesn't take too long before you down them. A couple of shots in, and you down them. Not only that, it has good hip fire because you've got a laser sight. You see, the laser sight makes it so that you're really, it makes it a lot better for you. Now, so just to clarify, you've got the Ns15 MG. You've got loads of reskins of these. You've got reskin here. Now, I think I've got the platinum version on my other account. But either so, I have used these. I've used 2 of these, and I do find them really nice to use. But they take a lot of getting used to, but they are really accurate. I'll say that. So the NX Naginata. Now, this gun requires you to not burst fire. You have to hold down the trigger. So let me just have a quick look. So, for example, you could put the forward grip on, you could put the suppressor on. It doesn't really matter at this point as to put anything on, but with this particular gun, I want to put a sight on as well. With this particular gun, the more you fire, the better. Now, it doesn't do well when you burst fire it. Now, if you hold down fire button, it becomes more accurate the more you fire. It has a nice reload and a large magazine. Now, it's not too crazy. You can keep people pinned down in doorways with this, but generally, yeah, aim, like, all these weapons require you to aim for the head. So don't start saying, oh, if I use this, I'm going to go and get body shots. you need to be hitting headshots reliably with the Ns15. Same as the Naginata. Now it has 150 big ones. You know, it does 150 damage. But again, you need to be hitting headshots. You know, you need to look at it and think, right, okay. You know, I didn't use the Naginata when I did mine. But I'm just trying to give you a kind of feel for what LMGs are out there and what to use. You've got stuff like the Promise, which is kind of the same as the Naginata. You use it and you have to kind of, you don't burst fire with it. You have to hold down the trigger and keep firing because it gets more accurate the longer you hold down the trigger. Stuff like the godsaw, for example. With the godsaw, you have to burst fire in order to control the weapon. Now it does 200 damage, but you've got to hit headshots. Otherwise, you're not going to out-damage people. People will out-damage you. So again, you know, pick what you feel is good. Don't go by, oh, Commando says get this, or whatever says this. Go by what gun you find really useful and get the most kills with. This is my own personal recommendations. So I'm just going to just basically dive into it. So I would say the top ones that I would use is the Anchor, the godsaw, the EM6. I would use the Promise and the GD22S. These are ones I would use. Now, originally when I started, I did use the godsaw S and the EM1. Now, at the time, I had a ton of kills with the godsaw S, and I had a ton of kills with the EM1. Now, at the time, I didn't want to start using other guns like the GD22S. I just decided to use these because I would have to start from scratch. I didn't even have the GD22S. I hadn't even bought it at that stage. I bought the godsaw S and the EM1. Now, I do like the EM1. It's kind of like the Promise. The EM1 has damage wise, it has 143 damage, but at 20 meters. This has 143 damage at 10 meters. But the magazine size on the Promise is really nice, and I just like the Promise because it's really controllable. The EM1 for me isn't as controllable. But the ones I went for was the Anchor, the godsaw, the Promise, the EM1, and the godsaw S. Now I would get rid of these. I would get rid of the EM1 and the godsaw S, and I would use the GD22S, and I would use the EM6. Now the EM6 is pretty good if you do something like, for example, you put a forward grip on, you put a compensator on, and then you don't need to put ammo on, and then you just use a 1x like this. It actually becomes really accurate at medium to long range. So as you can see there, it's just got no recoil. Now you can burst fire this weapon like this, but I always feel that if you hold the weapon down, I always do better with it. So that's the EM6. Now, ones that I don't really tend to use, I never really use the Ns15 to do it. Now, the Ns15 weapons I did use for black camo. So I used the what was it? I used the platinum version, and I used the version for the bounties, the bounty hunter directive gun. I can't remember what the name of it is, but I did use 2 of these, and they are really nice. So I would look at these as well. But for me as a new player, I could never understand why you would use these. I always thought that the higher damage weapons were kind of a niche of NC, so I might as well just use them. But that's what I would recommend. The EM1 is more close quarters, and the godsaw S is kind of a jack of all trades. But the GD22S and the Anchor, they're kind of similar. Now with these, you have good hip fire. So even though they only have 50 rounds, they are really good because of the hip fire. So that's what I would recommend. Now, as I say, if you have any questions, I'm going to leave it there, guys, because I'm going to go into a massive tangent, and the video will be like 3-hour long video, just me talking about one gun or something. But yeah, again, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. If you're going for the godsaw, sorry, I said godsaw. If you're going for the godsaw, then good luck. It is a pretty unique gun. I'll do a video talking about the godsaw and my thoughts on it. Yeah, and I'll leave it there, guys, and I'll see you soon. Take care.